I never planned on seeing her again. Honestly, I had built my entire adult life on the belief that she was buried somewhere in my past, far enough behind me that I could pretend none of it ever happened. But that illusion shattered 3 weeks ago, during a late shift behind the bar at Redwood Junction, a small-town dive off Highway 47 in northern Colorado, where folks drink cheap beer, play darts, and mind their own damn business. At least, most of them do. Her name wasn't always Seraphine. Back then we were kids and she went by Sarah, like the sky or some soft summer breeze. Funny how time twists meaning, because there was nothing soft about her anymore. I didn't recognize her that first night. Not at first glance. But trauma moves in strange shapes. It hides the monster's face until it's damn near brushing your skin. I was wiping down the counter when she walked in. Tight denim jacket, messy black hair brushing her shoulders, deep brown eyes that scanned the place like she owned it. She moved like someone who'd never been afraid of the world, like she believed it would bend for her. And maybe, once upon a time, it did. "Whiskey neat," she said, sliding onto the stool. Her voice hit me like a punch. Not because it was loud or sharp, but because it carried something familiar. An echo of a memory I'd spent years trying to burn out of my skull. I poured her the drink, set it in front of her, and forced out a neutral smile. "Rough night?" She shrugged. "Rough life." That should have been my first clue. But I wasn't ready to see it yet. Not her. Not the ghost. Not the girl who once held a knife to her own thigh and said, "If you love me, you won't let me disappear." Not the girl I left home for. The girl I nearly lost myself trying to save. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood outside Flagstaff, Arizona, raised by folks who taught me that love meant responsibility, honesty, and showing up. I believed that. I lived that. But at 16, when hormones and stupidity mix into a Molotov cocktail, I met Sarah. She was everything I wasn't, reckless, impulsive, charming with that wildfire spark in her eyes. We collided like two storms and ruined everything in our path. She wasn't just toxic, she was hungry, for control, for validation, for someone to drown with her. When I tried to leave at 18, she locked herself in her room and carved my name into her own skin. When I told her I couldn't stay, she accused me of abandoning her to her demons. The last night we were together, she threatened my mother, said if I left she would make sure my family felt what it was like to lose someone. That was when I ran. I didn't pack. I didn't write. I didn't look back. The police were involved later. Nothing major, no charges, but enough to make it clear I couldn't be anywhere near her without risking getting sucked into her chaos again. So I left. New town, new job, new life. For 12 years I was safe, until she walked into Redwood Junction like the universe wanted to punish me for daring to feel normal again. "Thanks," she muttered, lifting the whiskey to her lips. Her hands shook, just slightly. Not from fear. Sarah never shook out of fear. But from anticipation. Something had brought her here, and I had a damn good guess what. "You're not from around here," I said, trying to keep it casual. "Nope." She drummed her nails on the counter. "Just passing through." I nodded. "Well, welcome to Junction. Not much to see, but the beer's cheap." She gave a faint smile, then studied my face with a strange tightness. "You look familiar." My heart sprinted. I forced a chuckle. "I get that sometimes." "You have one of those faces," she said. But the way her eyes narrowed made me sick. She was calculating, pulling pieces together. I backed away, wiping down the far end of the bar to keep distance. But she called out again. "Hey, what's your name?" Shit. My real name, Lysander Hawk, was too unusual for her not to remember. "Ben," I lied easily. "Benjamin Hart." She repeated it slowly as though tasting it. "Ben." Then softly. "You sound like him." My throat closed. "Sound like who?" She leaned forward, chin resting on her palm. "Lysander, my old boyfriend." I froze. She didn't say it with hate. She said it with nostalgia, with longing, with that same pull she once used to drag me into the deep end of her madness. Well, I said quickly, I'm not him. And I wasn't. Not anymore. But Sarah's eyes were sharp as broken glass. Maybe not. But you move like him, talk like him, even blink like him. I forced a laugh. Blink like him? That's new. She didn't laugh back. Instead, she whispered. He ran away from me. Something cold slid down my spine. And what would you do? I asked carefully. If you found him now. Her lips curled into something between a smile and a threat. I'd ask him why he left me to rot. She stayed until closing. I pretended not to recognize her. She pretended not to know the truth. But she watched me. Every move, every shift in my voice, every slip of the hand, like she could read the whole damn map of my past right off my skin. At 1:58 a.m., when we kicked out the last of the locals, she lingered near the pool table pretending to scroll through her phone. Hey, I said, grabbing chairs and flipping them onto the tables. Bar's closing. I know. She pocketed her phone. You walking to your car? No. I lied again. I've got someone picking me up. Her eyes flickered. Jealousy, even after all these years. Who? She asked. Coworker. Male or female? I raised an eyebrow. Does it matter? She smirked. It always matters. Jesus Christ, same old Sarah. I motioned toward the door. Come on, I gotta lock up. She walked out slowly, almost tauntingly, like she wanted me to watch her. When I finally locked the door behind her, I breathed for the first time that night. But my relief didn't last. Because when I walked around the back of the building toward my truck, she was standing there, leaning against the driver's side door like she had every right to be. You lied, she said softly. I froze. About what? You don't have someone picking you up. She stepped closer. You still walk the same path you used to, around the side, past the dumpster, across the gravel. She knew my steps, my patterns, my fucking muscle memory. Sarah, I said finally, unable to pretend anymore. What do you want? Her expression collapsed, anger melting into heartbreak. You, she whispered. I took a step back. Sarah, you need to leave town. You left me first. I had to. No, she snapped. You wanted to. You wanted freedom from me. You wanted a life without me. You wanted air that wasn't filled with my breath. Sarah, say my name again. It wasn't a request. It was a command. I clenched my jaw. Please, this isn't healthy. It never was, she said, stepping closer until her breath hit my neck. But it was real. You know damn well it was real. I tried to move past her, but she blocked me, pressing her palm to my chest. Lysander, she whispered, and hearing my real name broke something dangerous inside me. Look at me. I did. And I hated myself for it. Her eyes were wet, furious, starving. Why did you leave? You know why. No. I know why you said you left. She moved closer. But I want the real reason. You threatened my family. So what? She said without shame. I was scared you'd leave. And I did, I said. Because you were hurting yourself. Hurting me. Hurting everyone. She paused. Then her voice dropped so quiet, I almost didn't catch it. You were the only thing that ever made me feel like I wasn't alone. My chest tightened. Sarah, don't pity me, she hissed. Love me. That's not how love works. That's exactly how love works. She grabbed my shirt. You break me, I break you. You save me, I save you. You hurt me, I hurt you. That's not love, I said. That's obsession. It's all I have. She pulled something from her jacket pocket. A bracelet. A thin silver chain with a tiny crescent charm. The one I gave her when we were 17. The one she swore she'd never take off. She placed it in my hand. You kept it, I whispered. I never stopped loving you, she murmured. Not for a single day. That's not love, Sarah. It is for me. Before I could react, she launched herself at me, kissing me with a violent desperation that tasted like whiskey, tears, and years of festering emotion. I shoved her back. "Stop." "Why?" she screamed. "Because you're scared you still want me?" "I don't." "You're lying. Sarah, I'm not that boy anymore. And I'm not that girl," she shouted. "I'm worse." There it was. The truth. She lunged again and I grabbed her wrists, pinning them away from me. She fought like hell, her breath ragged, her eyes wild. "Let me go," she yelled. "You need help." "I need you." "No." Her face twisted, anger flooding her features, sharp and dangerous. "If I can't have you," she whispered, "nobody will." "Sarah!" She screamed and tore herself from my grip, running toward the road. "Sarah, wait!" A car honked, long, loud, panicked. Headlights, screeching tires, a thud that felt like the earth cracking in half, a body spinning through the air, my heart stopping, then silence. I ran to her, dropping to my knees beside her broken body. Blood pooled beneath her head. Her breaths were shallow, wet, desperate. "Sarah. Oh God, Sarah." Her eyes fluttered open, cloudy with pain. "You came." "Stay with me," I begged, pressing my hands against her wounds. "Please, stay with me." She smiled weakly. "So, you do love me?" I swallowed hard. "I never stopped wanting you to be okay." "That's enough," she whispered. "No, it's not. Don't close your eyes, please." "Lysander," she breathed, fingers brushing my cheek one last time. "Don't run anymore." I cried out, raw, broken, as her chest rose one final time, and didn't fall again. The ambulance arrived 7 minutes too late. The officers asked questions. Witnesses gave statements. The driver who hit her sobbed until his voice cracked, but all I heard was her last whisper. All I saw was the girl I once loved, the woman I once feared, the soul I could never save. I thought running would free me. I thought distance would heal me. I thought time would bury her memory. But toxic love doesn't die. It lingers. It haunts. It clings like smoke to the back of your throat. Even now, weeks later, when I walk past Redwood Junction and see the traffic lights reflecting off the asphalt, I swear I hear her voice in the cold night air. "Lysander, don't run anymore." And sometimes, God help me, I almost turn around. I never thought love could rot. Not the romantic kind, at least. I always believed toxic love was something that happened to other people, the ones who ignored red flags or stayed with the wrong person just because they feared loneliness more than pain. I grew up promising myself I'd never be one of them. But life has a sick sense of humor. It waits until you're finally stable, finally breathing, finally feeling like a real adult. Then it throws someone at you who feels like sunlight at first, warm, comforting, familiar, until you're close enough to realize the heat is from a wildfire that's about to burn everything down. My name is Emily Castings, and I'm in my early 20s. Most people online know a version of me. Soft voice, slow confidence, seductive innocence. But that wasn't the real me. Just the version I created for the one place where I made my adult content. I didn't start OnlyFans for validation or because I liked attention. Hell, I didn't even show my face. I started because I loved the creativity. I liked making my content look artistic. Warm lights, soft shadows, carefully crafted poses that felt like storytelling. And I liked the money. Let's not lie. But I wasn't addicted to the cash. If anything, I got hooked on the control. How different it felt to choose what part of myself to give, what angle to show, what persona to slip into. I lived alone in a small city called Norhaven, several hours from my parents. I had a few friends, a summer job at a lakeside bar, and a small one-bedroom apartment near the edge of downtown. I wasn't famous, but I grew fast on OF because I was raw and intentional. I didn't post trashy content. I made it look intimate, soft, like something personal rather than performative. My fans noticed. They loved it. And so, my account blew up faster than I expected. I wasn't stupid either. I hid my identity carefully. No face, no tattoos, no real name, no location hints, no reflection slip-ups, nothing trackable. Or so I thought. But this story isn't about OnlyFans. Not really. It's about what happens when a stranger falls in love with a version of you that doesn't exist, and then decides the real you should belong to him, even if he has to take you apart to make you fit. I wasn't planning on meeting anyone that summer. I was working doubles at the bar, trying to save for graduate school applications. The bar wasn't fancy. Neon beer signs, sticky floors, wood-paneled walls that smelled like bourbon and sweat regardless of how many times we wiped them down. My coworkers were more like drinking buddies than actual friends. We laughed, we gossiped, but nobody actually knew me. Not the real me. My real life was quiet. Work, gym, content making, home. The kind of routine you fall into when you're trying to outrun loneliness by staying busy. One night after my shift, my coworker Jenna dragged me out for a drink at a local dive called the Wren's Corner. It was one of those bars with dim lights and a jukebox that only played older rock songs. "You need a life, Em," Jenna said, slamming a tequila shot in front of me. "You work too damn much." "I like being busy," I said, swirling my soda. "Keeps me sane." She smirked. "Sane is overrated." We joked for a bit, talked about annoying customers, and eventually I convinced her to head home early. I walked to my apartment, just a 10-minute walk down a quiet street. The summer air was thick, humid, the kind that makes your clothes stick to your skin. As I walked, I felt a weird sensation, like someone watching me. But Norhaven isn't dangerous, and I usually ignored my paranoia. I should have listened that night. When I got home, everything felt colder than usual. I thought it was the blackout hitting the neighborhood. Half the streetlights were dead. My apartment felt too quiet, still in a way I couldn't explain. But I brushed it off. I took a shower, changed into a tank top and shorts, and planned to record content for my page. Nothing explicit, just a soft-lit teasing mood video. But with no power, it wasn't possible. So I fell asleep. I woke at 3 a.m. Something pulled me out of sleep. This low mechanical hum outside my bedroom window. It didn't sound like any generator or car I recognized. I sat up, groggy, heart pounding. The hell? I checked beside me for my phone out of instinct, but it wasn't there. I fumbled my hands across the sheets, the pillow, the floor. Nothing. Confused, half asleep, I crouched down near the side of my bed. Still nothing. The humming continued, steady. Too steady. I whispered into the darkness. "Who's out there?" No answer. I wanted to look out the window, but the blackout made everything pitch black outside. My phone was still missing, so I couldn't even use its light. I told myself it was probably just a neighbor's generator or something stupid like that. But my body wasn't buying it. My chest felt tight. My stomach knotted. I hid under the blanket like I was 10 again. Pathetic. But it made me feel safer. The sound went on for what felt like an hour. Then it stopped abruptly. Just gone. Silence swallowed the room. Eventually, I drifted back to sleep. When sunlight hit my face the next morning, my phone was suddenly right beside my head, like it had been there all night. Except I knew it wasn't. And under it was a folded piece of paper. My throat tightened as I opened it. "You look pretty innocent when you sleep, not like when you put on a show for the camera." A kiss mark stained the bottom. Bright red lipstick, my shade. I dropped everything and backed away so fast I hit the wall. My breath came in gasps. This wasn't possible. No one knew where I lived. No one knew my real name. No one could connect my content to the real me. Unless someone had been inside my home. I didn't move for a long time. I sat on the bed, knees pulled to my chest, listening for any sound. Eventually, I convinced myself to check the apartment. Kitchen, fine. Bathroom, fine. Living room, fine. Front door, locked. Everything was normal, but nothing felt normal. I called Jenna, hands trembling. "Hey, you good?" she answered groggily. "Someone was in my apartment," I whispered. "Whoa, what? Did you get robbed?" "No. They left a note." "What kind of note?" I hesitated. There was no way to explain this without revealing what I did online. "It's complicated," I said. She kept pressing, but I shut down the conversation. I didn't want anyone knowing. Not yet. I considered calling the cops, but what would I even say? "Hey, officer. Someone broke into my apartment, didn't steal anything, didn't leave fingerprints, didn't leave signs of forced entry, just a creepy note referencing my OnlyFans." Yeah, no. They'd write me off as paranoid. So I went to work and pretended everything was normal. But that night, I noticed the closet door had shifted a few inches from where I remembered leaving it. I didn't open it. I didn't breathe near it. I slept on the couch. 2 days later, I received a new message on OF from a username I didn't recognize. Solace in Ruin. He had been following me for months, occasionally tipping small amounts, never talking. But his message hit like ice. "You sleep peacefully. I like that about you." I froze. This couldn't be coincidence. I wrote back carefully. "I don't share personal info. Please keep things respectful." Within seconds he replied, "I know, I've been watching long before you knew about me." My heartbeat was a hammer. I blocked him instantly, but blocking only works when a person is behind a screen. 3 nights after the note, I heard a new noise, a soft click inside the apartment. Not from outside, inside. My blood turned cold. I grabbed my phone, dialed emergency, but the line wouldn't connect. At first I blamed signal issues, until I realized my Wi-Fi was unplugged, and the router cord had been cut clean through. I stepped back slowly. My bathroom door was closed. My closet door was closed. The kitchen pantry door was cracked open. Too many places for something or someone to hide. "Hello?" I whispered. No answer. I backed toward the front door and tugged on the handle. It didn't budge. Locked, deadlocked, from the inside. Panic surged through me. My window wouldn't lift either. I pounded on it, screamed for help. No one heard. My street was practically a ghost town at night. Then, a door behind me clicked open. I spun around fast, back pressing against the window, chest heaving. "Please," I whispered. Just take whatever you want." A shadow moved. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Then he stepped into the light from the window. He wasn't old, late 20s maybe. Tall, at least 6'3". Dark hair, messy. A jagged scar running from his cheekbone to his jaw. He wore a ripped black hoodie and jeans stained with something dark. His eyes were gentle at first glance, but dead behind the softness. "Morning, Angel," he murmured casually, voice low. "Or whatever time it is. You scream loud. Cute, but kinda pointless." My stomach flipped. He knew my OF username. He knew how I slept. He knew my lipstick. He had been in my house before, probably many times. Who are you?" I stammered. He smiled. A slow, infuriating smile like I'd just asked something silly. "You know me," he said. "Not this face, maybe. But you know me." I shook my head. "No, I don't." "Sure you do," he whispered. "Solace in Ruin." My limbs went numb. He stepped closer, fingers brushing my arm almost softly. "You gave me so much of yourself online," he said. "Your movements, your breath, your rhythm. You think I wouldn't recognize you walking down the street? You think I wouldn't know the body I've memorized?" My voice barely worked. "You tracked me down?" He tilted his head. "Tracked? Baby, you're not that hard to love." Love. He used the word like it wasn't poison. "I don't know you," I murmured. "But I know you," he said. "And honestly, I think you want someone like me, someone who sees the version of you that you hide." He suddenly leaned in and inhaled near my neck. I jerked back. "Don't," he whispered. "Relax. If I wanted to hurt you, I would have done it last week. My knees nearly buckled. I swallowed hard. What do you want? His smile returned, darker this time. Everything, he said. But for now, just come with me. I'm not going anywhere with you. He chuckled softly. You think you have a choice? He reached out, fingers brushing my waist. I acted on instinct. I kicked him square in the groin. He let out a strangled growl and folded slightly. I ran. I sprinted to the living room, grabbed the nearest heavy object, a decorative glass bowl, and smashed it against the ground to grab a shard. My hands were shaking as I gripped it. He staggered after me, rage twisting his features. You want to play like that? Really? He lunged. I ducked under his arm, flung open the front door, which he must have unlocked when he followed me out of the bedroom, and bolted outside barefoot. That's when I saw it. A police patrol car rolling down the street. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I screamed, "Help! Please! He's trying to kill me!" The car screeched to a stop. He tried to run, but he didn't get far. 2 officers tackled him, handcuffed him, dragged him to the squad car. I collapsed to the pavement, sobbing, shaking so violently I could barely breathe. 1 officer stayed with me while the other searched his car. I heard his footsteps stop. Then a strangled gasp. Jesus Christ. I turned. In his trunk were 3 human heads, wrapped in plastic bags. Had I not escaped, I would have been the 4th. The police took my statement. The news broadcast the arrest. I stayed with Jenna for weeks because I refused to sleep alone. He was charged with multiple counts of murder, breaking and entering, stalking, kidnapping intent, and possession of human remains. I deleted my OnlyFans permanently. Therapy helped, slowly. But the truth is, what scares me most isn't that he almost killed me. It's the fact that he believed he loved me. Not me, but a version of me I created, a fantasy, a mask. Sometimes at night, I wonder how many people fall in love with masks, and how many of them will break the world to get to the person underneath. I don't film myself anymore. I don't play to the camera. I don't let strangers desire me. Now I give myself pleasure only for myself, the way it was supposed to be, the way it's safe. I never planned to go back to Crescent Hill. I swore the night I left that town, drenched in rain and shaking so hard I could barely breathe, would be the last time I ever touched its cracked sidewalks. But life has a strange way of dragging you back to the places you fear the most, and maybe the people you fear the most. It's been 12 years since everything fell apart, since the night that twisted my entire understanding of love, family, and myself. Every Halloween morning, no matter where I am, I wake up sweating, heart pounding like I'm still there. Like I'm back in that damn house with the flickering lights and the screaming and the smell of burning wires. People love to say trauma fades with time. Those people never lived through the kind of love that destroys you slowly, like rot under floorboards. But before I talk about her, before I talk about that night, I have to explain who I became, and why I kept running until I had nothing left to run from. I grew up in Crescent Hill, a quiet Midwest suburb that pretended it wasn't falling apart. Everyone smiled too wide, prayed too loud, and drank too much behind closed doors. My parents weren't bad people. They were just broken in ways I didn't understand at the time. My mom, Leanne, was soft-spoken, one of those women who apologized even when she sneezed. My dad, Rodney, believed every problem could be solved by tightening something. Pipes, belts, rules, emotions, it didn't matter. If it broke, he tightened. If it wasn't broken, he tightened anyway. I was 16 then. Awkward, quiet, the kind of teenager who tries to blend into walls. The kind who hangs out in the AV room at school just to avoid being seen. But she saw me. Her name was Rivka Hale, a girl with auburn hair, freckles across her cheeks, and a stare that made you feel like she was seeing every lie you'd ever tried to hide. She didn't walk into rooms. She arrived. like a gust of wind that shoved everyone else aside. I met her at a fall festival downtown. She was standing by the pumpkin carving booth with a plastic knife in her hand and an expression like she owned the whole damn street. "You look bored," she said. "I'm, not bored," I stuttered. "You're lying," she replied with a small smirk. "I like that." I should have walked away, but toxic love never starts with warning signs. It starts with sparks. Rivka was fire, beautiful, dangerous, warm when she wanted to be, scorching when she didn't. She texted me at all hours. "Hey, you awake? Come outside. I miss you. Why didn't you answer me? Don't ignore me." She'd kiss me like she needed air to survive, then push me away when I gave too much. She'd climb through my window at night, laughing as she kicked her muddy boots off, leaving footprints my mom never questioned. She had a way of making me feel like the only person who ever mattered, and the way of making me feel like the biggest disappointment she'd ever discovered. One moment she'd whisper, "You're the only one who gets me," and an hour later she'd be screaming, "You don't even try to understand me, do you?" I stayed, because when we were good, it felt like flying. But when we were bad, God, when we were bad, it felt like dying. Halloween 2 years before everything burned down was the first time I felt afraid of her. I remember it too clearly. I had dressed as a radio host, cheap costume, thrifted blazer, fake mic. She went as a dark fairy, wings she spray-painted herself, glitter smeared across her cheekbones. We met at the community center, the cheap DJ screaming into speakers that kept cutting out. Halfway through the party, she leaned close and whispered, "Let's get out of here." Her breath was warm against my ear. I didn't hesitate. We walked to my house. Wind howled through the neighborhood, blowing plastic skeletons and paper ghosts across lawns. My parents were out at a church event, something about hosting a safe alternative to trick-or-treating. When we stepped inside, the kitchen light flickered once, then steadied. "Old wiring," I mumbled. Rivka grinned. "Feels haunted." She loved creepy things. Darkness excited her. Fear energized her. Looking back, I think she fed off chaos. We went upstairs to my room. She lit candles without asking, dimming the lamp. Then she kissed me. Harder than usual, like she was trying to consume me. Everything was heat, her hair against my cheeks, her hands gripping the back of my neck. And then, she pulled back suddenly. Her eyes were glassy, distant. "You're going to leave me one day," she whispered. "What? No. You will. Guys always do. My dad did. My brother did. Even my mom. She left without leaving." "Rivka, hey, look at me." But she wasn't looking. She was spiraling. "You're going to break me," she said. "I can feel it." She shoved me. Not hard, but enough to make my breath hitch. "Stop," I said softly. She laughed, a sharp, unsettling sound. "You think you're the victim? Cute." I froze. That was the first time I feared her. And that night, as she stormed out and slammed the door behind her, something in me cracked. When the porch light flickered twice behind her retreating figure, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Like a warning. I stayed with her. Of course I did. Love makes idiots out of smart people, and fools out of cautious ones. We were off and on constantly. Breakups lasting a week, reunions fueled by tears and adrenaline. My parents hated her. My dad called her a storm in a girl's body. My mom whispered, "Sweetheart, she hurts you. That's not love." But I couldn't let go. And Rivka, she couldn't let go either, but not in a tender way. More like a trap. More like a tightening rope. It was the day before Halloween, the day the storm rolled in. I was 16 and stupidly desperate to impress her. She loved dramatic things, flashy things, moments nobody could forget. So when she joked about making my house do something crazy for Halloween, I took it too seriously. I opened the electrical panel in the basement. I messed with wires I didn't understand, thinking maybe the lights would flicker for effect, maybe the house would hum, Maybe she'd laugh and kiss me again and say, "You're not boring like everyone else." Still, the dumbest thing I ever did. I didn't tell her. I didn't tell anyone. The rain started around 6 p.m. By 6:30 it was violent. Sheets of water slapping the windows so hard it sounded like breaking glass. I was home alone when the lights began flickering, soft at first, like a dying candle. My parents were in their usual spots. Dad shaving before date night with Mom loading the washer. I sat on the couch watching a rerun of a late-night comedy show, feet curled beneath me, blanket around my waist. I didn't notice the flickering get worse until my body started reacting before my brain did, hair on my arms rising, a static buzz filling the room. Then, a flash. A boom. The house went dark. Then the screaming started. "Mom? Dad?" My voice cracked on the second call. I felt the floor vibrate under me. The lights flickered back on, stuttering violently. And the smell, God, the smell, burnt plastic, hot metal, ozone. My stomach twisted. I walked toward the kitchen first, and I froze mid-step. My mom lay collapsed near the freezer, her hand still touching the metal handle. Her skin was grayish, tight in places, melting in others. She didn't look like a person anymore. "Mom, Mom, Mom!" My voice broke until it wasn't even a voice. I ran to the bathroom next. Dad was slumped on the floor, razor still plugged in, blood mixing with water. The cut on his face was too deep, too jagged, as if he'd fallen mid-shave and the electrical surge had done the rest. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't understand. I called 911. My hands shook so violently I almost dropped the phone. The detectives called it an electrical accident. Bad wiring, water, power surge, wrong place, wrong time. I nodded. I cried. I said I didn't understand how something like this could happen. But I did understand. I knew exactly what had happened. I caused it. My stupid attempt at impressing a girl. My childish need for attention. My desperate hunger for her approval. My love killed my parents. I didn't tell a soul. Not then. Not ever. I packed my things and left Crescent Hill 3 months later. I thought I'd healed. I built a new life. New job. New apartment. New friends. New routines. No Rivka. No storms. No broken circuits. But trauma has a way of cracking open again. This Halloween morning, the alarm jolted me awake like a slap. I hadn't set the special second alarm in years, the one I reserved for days I never wanted to remember. When it rang again, the tone hit me like a memory I didn't agree to revisit. I groaned, rubbed my face, sat up, and froze. Someone was knocking on my door. 3 sharp knocks. Then a soft voice. "I know you're awake." My blood turned to frost. I knew that voice. No, it wasn't possible. It couldn't be. I opened the door slowly, and there she was. Rivka Hale, 12 years older, but the same wild eyes, the same unsettling smile. "Hey, stranger," she said, leaning against the frame like she never left. I couldn't speak. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she teased. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, come on," she said, brushing past me into the apartment. "Is that any way to greet the love of your life?" "Rivka, we haven't talked in years." "Yes," she said with a tilt of her head. "But you still think about me every Halloween." How do you know that?" she smirked. "You forget. I know you better than you know yourself." I stepped back. "Why are you here, Rivka?" She turned, eyes dark and glimmering, almost electric. "I came to finish what we started." I swallowed. "We didn't start anything." She laughed softly. "Oh, sweetheart. You really don't get it, do you?" She moved closer. "You think I didn't know?" she said, voice dropping to a whisper. "About the wires, about the breaker, about what you did." My heart stopped. "No, Rivka, please." "Shh." She placed a finger on my mouth. Her skin was ice cold. You did it for me, she whispered. To impress me. To make the night special. My breath shook. I was a kid. I didn't know. You loved me. She smiled. And love is supposed to hurt. Stop, I whispered. She stepped even closer until her forehead touched mine. You killed for me, she breathed. And now? I'm here to return the favor. A thunderclap boomed outside. The lights in my apartment flickered. Once, twice, then held. Rivka's smile widened. You feel that? She whispered. That's the storm, just like back then. I brought it with me. You're insane. I'm devoted. You need help. No, she hissed. You need me. She stepped back only long enough to pull something from her jacket. A switch. Small, homemade, wires dangling from it. My vision blurred with fear. Rivka, don't. What the hell is that? A little surprise, she winked. For old time's sake. I'm calling the police. You won't. She lifted the switch. Because I rigged the breaker in your building last night. One flick, and... She mimicked an explosion sound. Boom. I froze. What do you want? I whispered. Her face softened. Finally. A real question. She leaned in close again, pressing her cheek to mine. Her voice was a trembling whisper. I want you to choose me, completely, forever, like you should have done years ago. This isn't love, I choked. It is, she said calmly. It's just the kind that doesn't let go. Lightning flashed through the window. The apartment lights flickered violently. Rivka, stop, please. She raised the switch. You killed for me. Her voice shook. Now die with me. I lunged. I don't remember grabbing her wrist, don't remember the struggle, don't remember the scream, hers or mine, as the switch hit the ground. I only remember the explosion of light, a brutal flash, electricity ripping through the apartment as circuits blew. When I opened my eyes, everything was smoke, sparks, silence. Rivka lay motionless on the floor, her hand still twitching, her eyes open but empty. I crawled toward her, coughing violently. Rivka! Rivka! She didn't move. I sat on the floor beside her, shaking uncontrollably, ash falling around us like snow. I cried until my throat burned, until sirens wailed outside, until firefighters kicked down the door, until a medic grabbed my arm and said, Sir, are you hurt? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't hurt, I was destroyed. They ruled her death an accident. Another electrical malfunction. Wrong place, wrong time. I didn't correct them. I didn't explain. Just like I never explained about my parents. Some truths are too poisonous to speak. Every Halloween the alarms still wake me. Not because of ghosts, but because of love. The kind that leaves scars you never escape. The kind that feels like electricity under the skin. The kind that kills. I always thought the city lights of Chicago made me feel safe. I didn't know that sometimes the brightest places hide the darkest people. I was living in Jefferson Park, in a narrow brick apartment building wedged between a laundromat and a tax office that hadn't changed its neon sign since '97. My boyfriend, now husband, Rylan, was out watching the Bears game with his friends. It was a quiet Monday night, weirdly still, the kind that makes you notice your own breathing. I had just microwaved leftover pasta, poured myself a glass of cheap rosé, and put on a crime documentary that I'd seen like 11 times. The kind that makes you feel like nothing bad happens to you because all the bad things happen to other people. I was halfway through my wine when screeching tires ripped through the calm. Not a normal car brake. Not a slip. A desperate, high-pitched metal-on-asphalt scream. I froze. My first thought was that someone got hit. Then I heard footsteps. Fast, erratic, slapping against the sidewalk. And before I could make sense of it, bang, 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 bang. Someone hammered my door like they were trying to break it down. I jumped up so hard my wine spilled across the couch. "Who is it?" I shouted, staying a safe distance from the door. A shaky voice choked out, It's Nora. Please open. He's coming." My stomach twisted. Nora Harper. My oldest friend. My 2 a.m. talk buddy. My we survived college together person. I threw the door open, and she collapsed into me. Her face. God. Her left eye was swollen nearly shut, her split lip bleeding down her chin, a bruise carved across her cheekbone, and her knees were scraped raw. She shook like she'd been sitting in a freezer. "Oh my God, Nora?" I caught her before she hit the floor. "What happened to you?" She slammed the door shut behind us and locked all 3 locks with trembling fingers. Then she leaned her forehead against the door and whispered, "He followed me. All the way here." "Who? Who followed you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she sprinted to my kitchen drawer and grabbed the largest knife she could find. I grabbed her wrist. Hey, stop, talk to me." "Call 911, she rasped. "Now, please, before he gets here." Her voice wasn't scared. It was terrified. I dialed 911 with shaking hands, but she snatched the phone from me and screamed into it. "Send police, please. He's coming here. Trent Collins. He tried to kill me. I ran. I'm at 2046, please hurry." The operator tried to calm her, but Nora kept pacing, knife in hand, breathing in sharp, panicked gasps. Pieces finally fell out of her in between breaths. "I broke up with him months ago. He wouldn't let go. He stalked me. He hacked my social media. He kept showing up at my job. I filed a report. Nothing happened. He broke into my apartment tonight. He hit me, choked me, kept saying, 'If I can't have you, nobody can.' I pretended to pass out. I ran to my car. He chased me." She wiped fresh blood from her mouth. "And he followed me all the way here." Before I could respond, she froze mid-sentence. Her eyes went wide. Her entire body stiffened like ice. "He found me." I turned toward the window. Headlights flooded the block. A black Dodge Charger screeched to a stop, and a man got out, huge, shaved head, tattooed knuckles, shoulders filling the entire frame of my window, his jaw clenched like someone seconds from exploding. "That's him," Nora whispered. "That's Trent. Her ex, her stalker, her nightmare." He stormed toward my building. I grabbed Nora. "Get away from the window, get back." But before we could move, bang, 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 he pounded on my front door. "Nora, open the goddamn door. Now." His voice boomed through the entire apartment. I held Nora behind me. She clung to my hoodie, her breath sharp and broken. "Police are coming," I said loud enough for him to hear. He laughed. Actually laughed. "You think cops scare me? I'm not leaving without her." He jiggled the door handle so violently I thought it would snap off. "Come on, baby, you know you're mine," Nora whimpered. Then he kicked the door. The entire frame shook. I stumbled backward with her as he kicked again, harder. My wall clock rattled. He was going to break in. I grabbed the pepper spray from my drawer, pulled Nora behind the couch and whispered, "Stay low. Stay quiet." But Nora's breathing was too loud, too panicked. He kicked the door again. The wood cracked. I dialed 911 again. "Where are the officers?" I shouted. "He's breaking in." "They're 2 minutes away," the dispatcher said. He didn't have 2 minutes. I didn't have 2 minutes. Another kick, and the wood splintered near the lock. Nora shrieked and covered her mouth. "Baby!" Trent roared. "Don't make this worse." He slammed his shoulder into the door. Then again, the lock bent inward. One more hit and he'd be inside. I looked around desperately. My only options: kitchen, back hallway, bathroom, bedroom window, bedroom window. "Come on," I whispered. "We're climbing out." I grabbed Nora's hand and dragged her down the hallway as Trent screamed on the other side of the door. We reached my bedroom. I shoved the window open. It led to a narrow fire escape above the alley. "Hurry, Nora. Go." She crawled halfway out. "Crash!" The front door exploded inward. "Nora!" His voice shook the whole apartment. "Go!" I pushed her through the window. Footsteps thundered down the hallway. He was coming. I threw myself out after her just as Trent burst into the bedroom. His hand closed around my ankle. He yanked me back so hard my chin smacked the windowsill. I screamed and kicked, my heel smashing into his jaw. He roared in pain, released me, and I scrambled out onto the fire escape. "Nora, run!" I shouted. She was already climbing down the rusted stairs. I followed her, half running, half falling. Trent lunged out the window behind us. "You think you can hide from me?" He leapt onto the fire escape, the metal groaning under his weight. We ran down the stairs, our footsteps echoing through the alley. Nora was crying openly now. "He's gonna catch us. Oh God, he's gonna catch us." "No, he won't. Keep going." We reached the bottom and sprinted toward the street. But Trent was faster. He jumped the last 10 feet of the fire escape and landed like a monster hitting the ground. He grabbed Nora by her hood and yanked her backwards. She screamed as she fell. "Stop!" I yelled, running toward them. Trent raised his fist. And then, sirens. Red and blue lights exploded across the alley. He froze mid-swing. 3 squad cars screeched into the street, officers running out with guns drawn. "Get on the ground, now." "Hands where we can see them," Trent snarled, backing away. For a second I thought he was going to run or attack. Instead, he pointed at Nora. "See you soon, baby." And smiled. Then he dropped to his knees. Officers swarmed him, tackled him, cuffed him, shoved him into the cruiser while he laughed the entire time. Nora collapsed into my arms, sobbing. "It's over," I whispered. "You're safe now." But she shook her head. No, I'm not." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" Her eyes drifted past me, staring at the dark alley like she expected him to step out of it again. She whispered, "I know him. He doesn't stop, not even in jail." I hugged her tighter, and she was right. Trent didn't stop. Not the next week, not the next month, not even years later. The calls, the threats, the letters through different names, the whispers that he'd get out early. Nora moved states, changed her number, changed her life. But trauma doesn't listen to relocation. And some nights, like tonight, when wind hits my windows just right and footsteps echo in the alley behind my building, I swear I still hear his voice outside my door. "Baby, open up." I never imagined the person I loved most would be the same person I'd one day fear walking through the door. But that's what happens with toxic love. You don't recognize the transformation until the version you're looking at isn't even close to the one you remember. If someone had shown me a photo of myself now, sitting in a dim car at 1:37 a.m., hands shaking, trying to catch my breath, I would have sworn it was someone else, someone weaker, someone blind, someone who stayed too long. But it's me. It's my life. And this is how it fell apart. Before everything got twisted, before the anger, before the smashed doors and the screaming, there was a beginning that felt so good it should have been illegal. Back then I worked early mornings at a little coffee shop called Rusted Finch in downtown Hollow Ridge. If you blink, you'll miss the whole town. But it was my home, a place with wide streets, brick buildings, and people who always had something to complain about but never wanted to leave. I was 24, broke, tired, living mostly off tips and caffeine, and dreaming about leaving Hollow Ridge someday. And then Corvin walked into Rusted Finch one October morning, smelling like sawdust and cool air, wearing a frayed navy jacket that looked like it had lived a full life before he got it. "Just a black coffee," he said, rubbing his eyes with the back of his wrist. "I've been staining cabinets for 5 hours and I'm dying." I laughed. "It's 8 in the morning. Why would you do that to yourself?" "I'm a glutton for punishment, apparently," he said with a crooked smile. That smile. If I had known how deeply I'd one day fear seeing it twist into anger, I wouldn't have smiled back. But I did. Corvin kept coming in. Same drink, same tired grin, same spot by the window. I'd catch him watching me tie my apron or fix my hair behind my ear. He wasn't creepy. He was soft, observant, gentle in a way that made me feel like I mattered. One morning he said, "You know, If the world had more people with your kind of laugh, it might suck a little less. My stomach flipped. That was the first time I felt it. The warmth, the pull, the beginning of something I thought was love. If only beginnings warned you about endings. The first real red flag came 8 months into the relationship. But like most people, I painted it beige, covered it with excuses, smoothed its edges so it didn't scratch me. My friend Marla had just gotten dumped and was feeling terrible about herself. We went out with her husband Brant, and Corvin. We weren't planning to drink much. Marla said she just wanted to get out of the house before I lose my damn mind. By midnight, she'd had a few too many and realized she'd forgotten her wallet. I didn't even hesitate. We covered her drinks. On the way home, Corvin's jaw was locked so tight I could practically hear it creak. He didn't speak until we were halfway down Willow Road. Didn't know we were sponsoring other people's nights out, he muttered. I blinked. What? Corvin? She forgot her card. It's not a big deal. He slammed his palm against the steering wheel. The sound snapped through the car like a gunshot. Don't tell me what's a big deal. You always pull this crap. You let everyone take advantage of you. Marla shrank into her seat. Brant stared out the window. I felt my stomach twist. When we got home, Corvin shoved open the front door so hard it hit the wall and left a dent. He punched the pantry door next. Then he went silent and disappeared into the bedroom. The next morning, he made breakfast, kissed my forehead, said, I'm sorry, I was stressed. It wasn't about you. And like a fool starving for peace, I accepted it. That was how the cycle began. The next signs weren't loud. They were small, subtle, quiet enough to convince myself nothing was wrong. A mug shattered because I talked back. A picture frame broken because I shouldn't have smiled at that guy for too long. A lamp knocked over because I rolled my eyes. Every time, Corvin apologized. Every time he held me afterward like he was terrified of losing me. Every time he cried into my shoulder and said he needed me. And every time, I stayed. That's how toxic love traps you. Not with fear at first, but with softness between the storms. The softness is the leash, and the storm is what makes you cling to it. By year 3, Corvin wasn't the man from Rusted Finch who complimented my laugh. He was someone else. Someone unpredictable, someone explosive, someone who loved me so much he resented me for it, and I kept telling myself it would get better. But last night proved something important. It never gets better. Last night was supposed to be fun. A simple night out. Me, Corvin, my friend Tessa, her husband Brant, and Corvin's brother Silas. Corvin didn't want to spend money, so we agreed we'd just go dancing and keep the night cheap. He said, I'm not paying $20 for garbage beer. I rolled my eyes. No one's asking you to. He stared at me for 5 seconds too long. That should have been a warning. Inside the bar, neon lights flickered across people swaying to music that wasn't good but wasn't bad either, just loud enough to drown out your thoughts. We danced, laughed, tried to make the night easy. Then Tessa dragged me to the bar. Let's get water before we pass out. While we waited, a guy at the counter glanced over at us. He was maybe 30, clean-cut, not creepy. He raised his glass slightly. You two look great tonight, he said. Drinks on me if you want. He didn't touch us. Didn't lean in weirdly. Didn't say anything gross. Just a friendly gesture. But the moment Corvin saw us talking to him, his entire face hardened, like someone flipped a switch inside him. He stormed over, grabbed my wrist, and hissed in my ear. We're leaving. Now. What? Why? I asked. You know exactly why, he snapped. Tessa lifted her hands. Corvin, relax, nobody's— Shut the hell up, he snapped at her, pointing aggressively. Don't act like you weren't trying to hook her up. I'm not stupid. People around us turned to stare. Heat crawled up my neck. Corvin yanked me toward the exit. Silas trailed behind us, looking exhausted. Bro, come on. This is too much. Corvin didn't listen. He shoved us all into the car. Then he sped onto the highway, flooring the gas pedal until the speedometer hit 95 miles per hour. "Corvin, slow down!" I screamed. Tessa cried. Brant yelled at him. Silas grabbed the wheel once to correct the car, but Corvin only shouted louder. "You will not humiliate me! Do you hear me? You don't ever disrespect me in front of people." When we screeched into our driveway, he jumped out. He pointed in Tessa's face. "You betrayed me. You tried to embarrass me. You're a snake." Then he stomped down the street and took a taxi somewhere we didn't know. And just like that, the night shattered. He texted me once, just once. "Corvin, you caused everything. You disrespected me. You deserved it." I stared at that message for so long my vision blurred, and for the first time in 3 years, the guilt didn't win. Instead, something much heavier settled in my chest. Truth. I realized that if Tessa had been sitting in my place last night, she might not be alive right now. If Silas hadn't grabbed the wheel, maybe none of us would have made it home. Corvin didn't just have a temper, he was dangerous, uncontrolled, explosive. The kind of man who would rather terrify me than let himself feel insecure. No apology could fix that. No amount of love could excuse that. No fear could justify staying. But the truth hurts worse when you can't afford to act on it. Rent was too high. My savings were too low. I didn't have family to go to. My friends had families, responsibilities, kids. I felt completely trapped. And toxic love thrives on your lack of options. Tonight, after hours of replaying everything, I walked around the apartment and touched the things he had broken over the years, silent markers of every moment I convinced myself it wasn't that bad. The dent in the hallway baseboard, the cracked tile, the splintered door frame, the picture frame he shattered the night he said, "You don't listen." Every mark told a story. Every story pointed to one truth. If I stayed, one day I wouldn't be as lucky as last night. So I did something terrifying. Something my past self wouldn't recognize. I packed a backpack. Just one. Clothes, wallet, my ID, the photograph of my mother. Then I texted Tessa. "Me. Can I stay with you, even just tonight?" Tessa. "Yes, right now. Get here, please." I locked the apartment door, walked to my car, sat behind the wheel, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt air fill my lungs completely. Not fear, not guilt, not dread. Just breathing. Just freedom. Just the first step out of hell. It wasn't a clean ending, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. And real is enough. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who ended up telling his life story in an emergency room with dried blood stuck to his hoodie and a numb ache spreading across his chest. But here I am, writing this because I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to breathe right now. I don't know what the next hour of my life looks like. And I don't know how the hell the woman I loved more than anything ended up holding a knife over me. Maybe if I rewind properly, really rewind, you'll understand how everything spiraled into tonight. Her name was Lyris. Not a common name, not the type you forget. The first time I heard it, I assumed she made it up or something, like an artist name. But that was her real name. And she was the kind of girl who wore her name like armor. Beautiful, sharp, wild, everything slightly too intense, like she felt life at a frequency the rest of us couldn't reach. We lived in Cranebrook, a small town tucked close to the coast, 200 miles from anything exciting. Houses lined up like quiet watchers. Everyone knew everyone's car. Everyone recognized everyone's dog. And gossip traveled faster than weather alerts. Perfect place for love. Perfect place for disaster. We met 3 years ago at this little coffee shop on Harbor Street, Rusty Spoon Cafe, where she worked part-time. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I just ducked in because my phone battery was dying and they had outlets. She looked at me like she already knew me, like she'd been waiting. "Charger?" she asked, nodding at my dead phone. I remember nodding, awkwardly, and she smiled like she had caught me doing something cute. From that first 10-minute interaction, Lyris pulled me in like gravity. The kind you don't fight, because fighting feels impossible. But love, real love, it hides things, sometimes deep, and sometimes those things don't come out until you're staring at the woman you adore, and she's holding a knife like she's not sure if she wants to kiss you or kill you. Back then, I ignored the small things. Everybody does when they're in love. Like the night she showed up at my apartment, no jacket on, soaking wet from the rain, because I didn't reply to a text for 30 minutes. She looked terrified, like she thought I'd died. "You scared me," she whispered, hugging herself. "Don't do that again." I laughed it off, made her tea, held her until she stopped shaking. But I remember thinking, that wasn't normal. Later came the jealousy, her fear of abandonment, her panic when things weren't perfect. But I stayed, because that's what love does. It convinces you that you can fix someone, that you can carry their darkness for them if you just hold on tight enough. But tonight proved something. You can't love someone's demons into angels. I had been out with two of my friends, Reed and Callum. We weren't wild or anything, just a few beers at Dockliner Bar, the usual Saturday night hangout that smelled like fried jalapenos and spilled Bud Light. We got there around 9, left a little before 12. The whole time, my mind was on Lyris. She'd been weird all day, quieter than usual. Not angry, just off. I figured she was tired. She'd been working double shifts all week. When I reached home, the light in our living room was still on and the TV was playing some random infomercial. Lyris always forgot to turn things off. I turned everything dark, took a quick shower, then headed to bed. She was already lying there, facing the wall. I thought she was asleep. The room felt colder than usual. The air was thick. My chest felt heavy, like something was wrong but I couldn't name it. I slipped into bed, lifting the blanket gently so I didn't disturb her. The moment the mattress dipped under me, she flipped over, not slowly, not groggy, but sharp, like a switch flipped. "Babe?" I whispered. "You awake?" She didn't answer. Instead, she slid her hand under her pillow. My brain didn't even process what was happening until she pulled out something metallic. A kitchen knife. One of the big ones. The one she always used to cut watermelon. "Lyris, what the hell?" She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't say a word. She just lunged. I jerked sideways and fell off the bed, landing on my shoulder, the shock rattling my teeth. My phone was still in my hand. Thank God. She swung again, but the knife only grazed me that time, warm pain exploding across my upper chest and shoulder. "Lyris, stop!" I yelled, backing away on my hands and feet. Her hair covered half her face. Her eyes looked wild, but lost, like she wasn't fully there. But there was something else too. Regret? Fear? Hatred? I still don't know. She didn't chase me. She just stood there at the edge of the bed as I scrambled out of the room. I ran barefoot outside, chest burning, blood dripping down my front. 911, I stood in the middle of the street, heart pounding so hard it shook my ribs. Cranebrook was dead quiet at that hour, porch lights glowing, a dog barking far away, the faint rustle of trees. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. "Emergency services, what's your situation?" My girlfriend, she tried to stab me. She's inside. She has a knife. Please, please." The operator kept telling me to breathe. But how the hell do you breathe when the person you love just tried to put a knife in your chest? I touched my shirt and felt warmth. Sticky, thick. I looked down and saw a dark patch growing over the fabric. I felt dizzy. My legs wobbled, my vision blurred. And somehow, I still said, "Please go easy on her. Something's wrong with her. She wasn't herself. Please don't hurt her." Even bleeding out, I was still protecting her. That's toxic love in its purest form. 2 patrol cars came first, then an ambulance. The medics helped me onto the stretcher. The moment they pressed a gauze pad onto the wound, the real pain hit me. Sharp, burning, like fire ripping beneath my skin. I swear I nearly blacked out. One of the EMTs said, "Sir, stay with me. Hey, look at me. What's your name?" "Jace," I muttered. "All right, Jace, we're gonna take care of you. You're safe now." Safe. Was I? Because my heart felt like it had been ripped open, stitched together wrong, and left trembling. Meanwhile, officers rushed into our house. I heard shouting, feet pounding up the stairs, doors slamming open. Then quiet. They found her sitting on the bed, knife on the floor, hands covering her mouth, crying so hard she could barely breathe. When they led her out in handcuffs, she didn't look at me. Maybe she couldn't. I got stitched up, 7 stitches across my shoulder. They said I was lucky. If the knife had gone half an inch deeper. They didn't finish the sentence. I already knew. I would have been dead. I've been sitting here for hours. The hospital smells like antiseptic and cold floors. A monitor beeps somewhere down the hall. A security guard is nodding off by the entrance. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face. Her hand under the pillow. The glint of the blade. Was she going to kill me? Or was she scared of something? Was it a mental break? Was it me? Was it her past? I don't know. But I know this. I love her. And I'm terrified of her. Both truths can exist at once. The police asked me earlier, did she have any history of violence? I said no. But that wasn't true. Not entirely. There was the night she smashed a glass in the sink because I laughed at a TikTok she thought was stupid. There was the night she grabbed my wrist so hard it left fingerprints because I said I needed space. There was the night she cried on the kitchen floor for 2 hours because I didn't say I love you before leaving for work. She wasn't evil. She wasn't cruel. She was wounded. Deeply. Painfully. Her father had abandoned her at 14. Her mother drank herself numb for years. Her last boyfriend cheated on her 3 times and told her she was emotionally too much. So she clung to me like I was her oxygen. And I let her. Because I thought love meant never letting go. A detective finally came in, middle-aged guy, tired eyes, named Officer Grant. "Jace," he said softly, "we need your statement." I told him everything, every detail, every moment. He wrote it down silently. Then he said something that broke me. "She kept asking for you. She's hysterical. Says she thought someone else was in the bed. Says she didn't know it was you." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean someone else?" "She said she saw a shadow lying next to her. She thought someone broke in. She panicked. So, she wasn't trying to kill me?" He hesitated. "We don't know. But she's not stable right now. That much is clear." Once they discharged me, I walked outside into the late morning sunlight. Everything looked too bright, too normal, too peaceful, like the world didn't realize it ended for me last night. My house stood there in the distance, quiet, still, ordinary. But I couldn't walk toward it. My legs wouldn't move. Because I could still see the moment the knife flashed. I could still hear her ragged breathing. I could still feel the betrayal scraping against my ribs. The truth I didn't want love isn't always warm. Sometimes it's a cage lined with soft blankets. Sometimes it's a hand on your cheek and a knife behind your ribs. Sometimes it's a person who loves you so deeply they can't tell the difference between holding you close and holding you hostage. I know Lyris loved me. I know she never meant to become this person. But intent doesn't erase scars. And I have one now stitched across my shoulder. Permanent physical proof of where love can lead when it goes unchecked, untreated, unspoken. Tonight changed my life. Tonight changed hers too. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if she gets help. I don't know if I can ever sleep without flinching again. But I do know one thing. This was the closest I've ever been to dying. Not at the hands of an enemy, but at the hands of someone I would have died for. That's what makes it hurt the most. I didn't realize how fast a home can stop feeling like a home until the night someone you love decides you don't deserve air. The winter storms had just started rolling through Northridge, Michigan, and I was exhausted from my holiday shifts at the store. I'd tossed my jacket onto the couch, kicked off my shoes, and collapsed in front of the space heater with a cup of cheap hot chocolate. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Just one little notification. But that single buzz cracked my entire life open. It was my Instagram archive, an old video of me laughing with my childhood friend Lauren at a summer lake party. I had archived it months ago after my boyfriend Cade said it made me look way too available. I didn't repost it. I didn't touch it. It just reappeared. Some glitch. But Cade didn't think so. He walked in without knocking. He had a key. And back then, I still thought that meant trust. The door swung open and slammed into the stopper. "What the hell is this?" he said, holding up his phone like a cop flashing a warrant. I blinked, confused. "What?" "This video." He shoved it toward me. "You posting this again now? The week before Christmas, you think I'm stupid?" "It's archived, Cade. I didn't post anything. It glitched. People said Instagram does that sometimes." "Bullshit," he muttered, jaw tightening. "Why is he touching your waist? Why are you smiling like that? You trying to get guys hyped up for the holidays? What are you even talking about?" I laughed nervously. Wrong move. His face twisted instantly. "Oh, you think this is funny?" he said, stepping closer. No, Cade, I'm just saying it's not a big deal." "It is to me," he snapped. I stood up, raising both hands. "Please don't do this tonight. I'm tired. Just sit. We can talk." But his voice shot up like a crack in the ice. "Don't fucking tell me to sit." He grabbed my wrist so hard I felt the bones grind. "Cade, stop, please." He shoved me backward and I hit the wall beside the heater. The thud rattled the vent. "Why are you always lying to me?" he demanded. "I'm not lying." "You think I'm stupid enough to believe this was a glitch? Guys don't just touch girls like that unless something was going on." "It was 6 years ago," I yelled. "We were kids." "Kids," he repeated mockingly, and something snapped behind his eyes. He grabbed my throat. Not hard at first, just a warning, but then he squeezed. Harder, harder. "Cade, stop, please, I can't." "Say you're sorry," he hissed. "What? For what?" "I didn't." His fingers tightened like a clamp. My vision pulsed. I clawed at his arm. "Cade, please. I can't breathe." He shoved me again, and I smacked the floor, my head connecting briefly with the baseboard. A bright flash tore across my vision. I gasped, choking. "Cade!" I screamed. "Stop!" But he was already on me again. This time both hands wrapped around my neck, and all I could think was, this is how people die in stupid apartments in quiet towns. My last sight before everything blacked out was the flickering Christmas lights across the room, the ones he insisted we put up together. Then nothing, just a pit of black. I was on my back, no concept of time. No idea how I got from standing to the cold wooden floor. And Cade was crouched over me, taking a picture. The shutter sound was quiet, but it felt like a bullet. "You look real peaceful when you're not running your mouth," he said coldly. I don't remember him doing it. My memory cuts clean, standing, then on the floor. When I tried to sit up, my head spun like a loose wheel. "You done?" he asked. "Or you want to keep pissing me off?" "Cade, you strangled me." "You always exaggerate everything." I blacked out. "You passed out," he corrected, shrugging. "Don't be dramatic." My hands shook. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. The fear wasn't immediate, it was delayed, like my body needed a minute to register that I was still alive. "Cade, leave," I whispered. He laughed. Not loudly, but in a way that felt like he was laughing inside my skull. "This is my place too," he said. "You think you can kick me out? After everything I do for you?" "You almost killed me," I croaked. "I barely touched you," he said. "Quit acting." He walked into the kitchen, opened my fridge, and cracked open a beer like we'd just had a stupid little argument about dishes. I sat on the floor until my hands stopped trembling enough to grab my phone. But when I reached for it, he had already taken it and placed it in his pocket. "You're not calling anyone," he said calmly. "We're not dragging other people into this." That tone, soft, low, collected, scared me more than the yelling. I realized then, he didn't lose control. He let go. I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to ruin his life. That's the sick part of toxic love. You're bleeding, but you're worried about staining their clothes. My parents, Sandra and Harold, noticed the marks on my neck when they came by to drop off holiday cookies. "What happened to you?" my mom gasped. I fell into the shelf," I lied. "You think we're idiots?" my dad said, stepping closer. "Who did this?" But I stayed quiet, because I still loved him, because I didn't want him in jail, because I didn't want the small-town gossip mill ripping through my life. It wasn't until Cade sent me the picture of me unconscious with the message, "Told you shouldn't test me," that I broke. I showed my mom. She went white. My dad grabbed his coat and wanted to drive straight to Cade's apartment. It took both me and my mother to stop him. "We need the police," my mom whispered. "This is not normal. This is not love." "I don't want to," I said, crying. "He'll hate me." "He could have killed you," she choked. But I still hesitated. Love turns your brain into wet cement. Everything gets stuck. My mom finally called the police herself. Deputy Collins took photos of my neck and bruises. He looked at me for a long moment and said, "You know, most people we bring in for strangulation don't come in twice. They either leave or they die the second time." That sentence cracked something in me. They arrested Cade. He was out the same day, bonded out like nothing happened. And the moment I heard it, fear replaced guilt. Because now I knew. I would have to see him in court for the restraining order hearing. I would have to look at the man who held my life in his hands. And I didn't think I could survive that. Every night after his arrest, I woke up to phantom hands around my throat. I'd jump awake gasping, clawing at my own skin, convinced he was in the room. I slept with the lights on. I slept with the door locked, chair under the knob. I slept on the couch some nights because my bedroom felt unsafe. Even then, nightmares came. In one dream, he lifted me off the ground by my throat like I weighed nothing. In another, he whispered in my ear, calm and slow, "I'm not done with you." I woke shaking, chest burning, unable to breathe. When the day came, I sat outside the courtroom, arms wrapped around myself, rocking slightly. My mom held my hand. "You don't have to speak," she said gently. The judge read everything. "I don't want to see him," I whispered. "Mom, I can't." "You're safe," she said, but even she didn't sound convinced. When they opened the doors, I saw him. Clean-shaved, new jacket, smirking, like he was proud. I froze in place. His eyes locked on mine, and I could see it. That same cold, controlled cruelty. He mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, but I knew what he said. I've seen that expression enough. "You're gonna pay for this." I panicked. My chest seized. I grabbed my mom's arm and whispered, "I can't go in there. I can't breathe. Mom, I can't do it." The bailiff saw me spiraling and guided us back into the hallway. "You okay, sweetheart?" she asked. "No," I whispered. "Please don't make me go in there." My legs felt like they were filled with cement. The judge granted the peace order. But fear doesn't follow court dates. Fear follows memory. Some nights I swear I hear footsteps outside my door. Sometimes a car slows down a little too long near my building. Once I found a cigarette burn on my doorframe, but I don't know if it's him. Trauma makes shadows violent. I don't feel much these days. Nothing deep. Just flashes of panic. Moments of numbness. Nightmares that feel too real. But I do know one thing. Whatever my future holds, I can't go through another courtroom, and I never want to face him again. I survived once. I don't know if I would survive twice. I never thought love could feel like both a home and a threat at the same time. If you had asked me 2 years ago what the word toxic meant, I probably would have said something simple. Bad vibes, bad communication, maybe cheating. I had no idea it could look like gentle apologies dripping over bruises. I had no idea it could sound like someone whispering, "I love you" through tears right after they slapped you. I had no idea it could feel like craving someone who scares you. And to understand how I got here, you'd have to understand where I came from. I grew up in a small, quiet town outside of Columbus, Ohio. Not the kind of place where dramatic things happened. Just a flat, ordinary neighborhood where people mowed their lawns every Sunday, and everyone had a kid on a little league team. My parents weren't abusive, but they weren't the emotional type either. My dad was a deal-with-it kind of guy, and my mom dealt with her own anxiety by pretending everything was fine. So I grew up learning how to stay quiet during arguments, how to keep the peace, how to apologize first, even if something wasn't my fault. Which is probably why I stayed with Celine longer than any sane person would have. Celine, that wasn't her real name, of course, but that's what I'll call her. Because even now, even after everything, saying her real name out loud feels like lighting a match in a dry forest. The real start. Ultra-realistic. Requested. I met her last April at a small local coffee shop near downtown. I was sitting at the back table, working on some paperwork on my laptop. It was one of those spring days where the weather couldn't decide whether to be warm or cold. People kept walking in wearing hoodies but sweating like crazy. I remember complaining to myself about how sticky the air felt. And then she walked in like she was stepping out of a magazine shoot. Not fake beautiful. Just alive in a way I wasn't used to. She had jet black hair tied in a messy bun, a denim jacket with random patches sewn on, and this pair of sneakers drawn on with black Sharpie. The shoes caught my eye before she did. Little doodles everywhere. Stars, hearts, some band names. And on one shoe, messy handwriting that said, "Not crazy, just passionate." I didn't know how true that line really was. She walked straight to the counter and said, "Can I get a caramel latte?" Extra shot, actually, 2 extra shots. Life's kicking my ass today. The barista laughed awkwardly, like he wasn't sure if she was joking. When she turned around, she caught me staring at her shoes or maybe at her. I honestly don't know. She tilted her head and said, "What you staring at, stranger? You judging my shoes?" I choked on my own spit. No, the doodles are cool." She smirked. That smirk. It could disarm a whole army. "Well, thanks. I get bored easily," she said. "Sometimes my brain just starts going 100 miles per hour and I gotta do something with the energy." She walked over without asking and sat across from me like she'd always been there. "Name's Celine," she said, reaching out her hand. "You look like you need someone interesting in your life." I didn't know then that interesting could also mean dangerous. We talked for 3 hours that first day. She told me about her childhood, bouncing between relatives, never feeling grounded. She talked about being diagnosed with PTSD and intense mood swings. She talked with her hands fast and expressive. Her laugh was loud, her sarcasm sharper than broken glass on pavement. But she was soft in the moments between sentences. Soft in a way that made you want to take care of her. And I was a caretaker by nature. So, of course, we started dating. It was intense immediately. Not normal intense. I'm talking texting nonstop. Showing up at my apartment with takeout at midnight. Opening up about her fears on day 2, kind of intense. She loved me loudly, hugging me tight, kissing me like she was trying to memorize me, telling me things like, "You're the calm I never got as a kid. You make me feel safe. You're literally the only stable thing in my life." And at first it felt good. Who doesn't want to be needed? But 2 months in, everything shifted. The first major fight happened over something stupid. I had gone out with some coworkers after a late shift. Nothing wild, we just grabbed burgers and talked shit about our boss. My phone died halfway through, and when I got home, Celine was sitting on the steps outside my building with a look on her face like I'd crashed her car. Where the hell were you? She demanded. My phone died. I was with coworkers. That's bullshit, she snapped. She shoved past me, hard enough that I had to catch myself on the railing. Celine, what the hell? Why are you pushing me? You think I'm stupid? She yelled. You think I don't know when someone's lying to me? No one's lying to you. I said it calmly, stupidly calmly, because that's what I always did growing up. But with Celine, calm triggered her. She hated it. Stop talking to me like I'm some crazy bitch, she snapped. I didn't say that. You're thinking it, she hissed. I can see it on your face. Before I could respond, she slapped me. Not hard enough to knock me off balance, but hard enough to shock the hell out of me. She froze immediately, like she hadn't meant to do it. Oh my God, she whispered. Oh my God, I didn't, babe, I'm so sorry. She grabbed my face gently, the same face she had just hit. I'm so sorry, she said. I don't know what happens sometimes. It's like my emotions take the wheel and I'm just watching. Please don't leave me. Please don't ever leave me. And stupid me. I hugged her. I told myself it was a one-time thing. I told myself she was just stressed. I told myself people slip up. But somewhere deep inside, I knew. This wasn't the last time she'd lose control. The fights became a pattern. If she got jealous, she shoved me. If she felt abandoned, she hit my arm. If I tried to walk away from an argument, she grabbed my shirt. After every outburst, she'd break down crying. No one ever taught me how to calm down, she'd sob. I'm trying. I swear I'm trying. And she was trying. She really was. Sometimes she'd stop herself mid-swing and scream into a pillow instead. Sometimes she'd grab her own arm so hard she left marks. Once she even locked herself in the bathroom to avoid lashing out. That's the thing about toxic people. They're not evil. They're hurting. But their hurt spills over and drenches everyone around them. 3 months in, we had our worst fight yet. We were arguing about something dumb again, me forgetting to text her that I got home safe. And mid-argument, she suddenly went quiet. Her face changed. Her breathing shifted. Don't freak out, she said, staring at the floor. But sometimes I get these intrusive thoughts when we fight. Okay, what kind of thoughts? She swallowed. Her voice dropped. About killing you. The room spun. It felt like hearing a fire alarm in a quiet house. But I would never do it, she said quickly. Never. Not in a million years. They're just thoughts. My brain gets dark when I'm scared of losing you. Celine, I swear I would never hurt you like that. I would rather die than hurt you. I just sat there. Thoughts aren't actions. I knew that. People with trauma can have violent, intrusive thoughts they'd never act on. But considering she'd already pushed me, hit me, shoved me, it wasn't exactly comforting. Still, I stayed. Because she cried into my chest. Because she said she needed me. Because she kissed my hands and whispered, "You make the monsters in my head quiet." We had good moments, really good ones. Laughing at 2 a.m., dancing in the kitchen, going to flea markets, getting tacos from that food truck near High Street, making dumb videos on her phone. When she wasn't spiraling, she was the sweetest person I'd ever met. But the outbursts never fully stopped. One night she got mad I fell asleep during her rant about her coworker. She threw a pillow at my head, then stormed out. Another time she slammed my laptop shut during an argument, cracking the corner. Another time she hit my shoulder so hard my arm tingled for 10 minutes, and every time she looked horrified afterward. I'm trying, she'd say. I swear I'm trying. And she was. But trying doesn't undo damage. Love can be real and toxic at the same time. That's something people don't understand until they live it. The breaking point wasn't dramatic. There was no knife, no screaming match, no big betrayal. It was exhaustion. One night we were sitting on my couch watching some crime documentary she loved. She was leaning against me, head on my chest, her fingers drawing circles on my arm. Out of nowhere she said quietly, "Do you ever think I'm dangerous?" I hesitated, and that hesitation told her everything. She pulled away, her eyes filled with tears. Not angry tears this time, but the deep, wounded kind. "You're scared of me," she whispered. "No, Don't lie, please. Not tonight." She stood up, pacing the room. "I love you more than anything," she said. "But I can't be someone you flinch around. I don't want to be the reason you walk on eggshells." I didn't interrupt. For the first time, she wasn't yelling. She wasn't spiraling. She was just honest. "I need help," she whispered. "Real help. And I don't think I can get better while holding on to you like this. I keep hurting you, I keep losing control, and I hate myself for it." She wiped her eyes. "I'm not breaking up with you," she said softly. "I'm setting you free." It hurt worse than any slap she'd ever given me. But it was the right call. We talked for hours, calmly, painfully, honestly. By sunrise, it was over. She packed her things quietly. No drama. No last-minute chaos. Just two broken people who cared too much to keep destroying each other. Before she left, she kissed my cheek and whispered, "Thank you for being the first person who didn't give up on me. I'm gonna get help, I promise." And for the first time, I actually believed her. We don't talk now. Not because we hate each other, but because healing sometimes requires silence. I heard through mutual friends that she started therapy, joined a support group, and even stopped drinking during bad days. She's working on herself, for real this time. And me? I'm learning that love shouldn't hurt. Not like that. I still think about her sometimes. Her laugh, her doodled sneakers, the way she whispered apologies like prayers. I still wonder what we could have been if pain didn't bleed through her body like electricity. But some love stories aren't meant to last. Some are meant to teach. And she taught me a lot. About boundaries. About trauma. About how dangerous it is to confuse intensity with affection. Most of all, she taught me that loving someone doesn't mean fixing them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. I never understood how people stayed in toxic relationships, until I found myself trapped in one so deep that even my own mind kept lying to me. Back then I was 19, living in Riverside Hollow, a quiet little town in northern Georgia that people only ever passed through on their way to somewhere more interesting. I worked part-time at a gas station off Highway 22 and spent my nights scrolling through TikTok or texting friends. Then he showed up. His name was Rylan Vexler, a name that sounded cool as hell and way too unique for a guy from a place nobody cared about. He was 21, tall, always dressed nice, and talked like life owed him something. People around town said his family had money somewhere, old business investments, land, whatever. He didn't like talking about it, but he sure liked spending like it was true. I met him on a cold night in November 2021. He came into the station, bought a pack of gum, then lingered at the counter like he had all the time in the world. "You always this quiet?" he asked, leaning forward. "I'm literally just scanning your gum, dude." He grinned. "You're funny. I like that." I remember thinking, wow, someone like him noticing someone like me? That should have been my first warning sign. But toxic love never starts toxic. It starts flattering. 3 weeks later, we were inseparable. He'd pick me up after work, take me on late-night drives, blast music so loud we couldn't hear each other talk. He'd text me stuff like, "You're the only person I feel safe with. Don't ever leave me. I mean that." And I believed every word. Until one night at 11:17 p.m., I got a message from an unknown number. "Hey, I didn't know you were dating Rylan. Thought I should tell you. He's been messaging me for weeks." At first I thought it was spam. Then another message came. "He tried showing up at my house, told him to leave. You deserve to know." My heart punched itself. I called him immediately. "Why is some random number texting me saying you're trying to get with them?" He scoffed like I was stupid. "Babe, come on, someone's messing with you." "Who?" "How would I know? People are weird." His voice had that practiced calm. too calm. Like he'd already rehearsed for this moment. That was the first lie. I just didn't know it yet. 2 days later, another message came through. He's lying to you. I told him to stop. I can prove it if you want. That last sentence froze my spine. Prove it? I didn't respond. I just sat on my bed staring at the wall, feeling everything inside me twist. When I asked Rylan again, this time face to face, he exploded. You don't trust me? After everything? That's what we're doing now? It's just a question. No. It's an accusation and it pisses me off. He hit the steering wheel so hard the horn nearly cracked. That should have been another red flag. But instead I said the dumbest thing possible. I'm sorry. He breathed out, all slow and dramatic like he'd been wronged. Then he held my hand and whispered, "Don't ever doubt me again." I nodded. And somewhere inside me, a little part of myself faded. 2 weeks passed. I thought things were normal again. They weren't. One night while Rylan was in the shower at his place, his phone buzzed. A message banner popped up at the top. Did you send it? Sent what? Another message. I swear to God, don't ghost me again. You promised me. My stomach dropped. My heart whispered, don't look. My brain yelled, open the damn phone. I picked it up and saw the name, Theo. Never heard that name in my life. Before I could read more, Rylan came out of the bathroom. What are you doing with my phone? His voice wasn't angry. It was dangerous. I didn't mean to. It just lit up. He snatched it out of my hand so fast the air slapped. You don't touch my shit, ever. That was the first time I felt afraid of him. Not nervous. Afraid. Later I found out that Theo wasn't just some dude. Theo was 16, and Rylan had been secretly seeing him for months. I only learned the full truth months later through police reports, messages, and the ugly aftermath. But here's the important part. Theo had found out about me, and he wasn't quiet about it. He messaged Rylan. You can't play both sides. Tell her or I will. Rylan panicked, and then things got even darker. Theo had screenshots, messages, photos, proof of everything Rylan wanted buried. He sent him a threat. If you lie again, I'll post everything. Rylan begged him not to, and then he started paying him. First $60, then $120, then $300. Within a month he sent Theo over $2,000. He never told me any of this. Instead, he kept treating me like I was the problem. The night everything snapped. December 19th, a freezing Monday night. I was closing up the gas station when Rylan texted, "Can you come outside real quick? Need to talk." I stepped out and saw him leaning against his car, hands shaking like he'd been awake for days. You good? I asked. No, not even close. He paced. He kept checking the dark edges of the parking lot. Okay, what's going on? He swallowed hard. If anyone asks, I was with you tonight. I blinked. Why? What happened? Just say it, please. Rylan, what did you do? He looked at me, eyes cold, something broken behind them. I handled something. Someone. That's all you need to know. My blood iced. What the hell does handled mean? He stepped closer. It means you don't ask questions if you love me. I took a step back. Rylan, what did you do to Theo? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence said everything. The next morning, news broke. A 16-year-old boy found in the woods outside Briar Creek. Severe head trauma. No sign of life. Investigation underway. I felt the world tilt. That night my phone buzzed. Rylan, don't talk to anybody. Not cops, not your friends, nobody. Then another. If I go down, I'm taking you with me. 2 days later, police knocked on my door. Ma'am, we're looking for Rylan Vexler. Do you know where he is? No, I whispered, even though I'd just received a message from him. I need you. Answer. I called him. He answered instantly, voice ragged. You told them, didn't you? No. Rylan. They came on their own. You were supposed to protect me. I didn't do anything. He exhaled, shaky. I didn't mean for it to happen, I swear to God, I snapped. Where are you? Silence. Then he said 5 words that will haunt me forever. You were never supposed to know. The line went dead. He was arrested 3 hours later, blood on his hands, the weapon in his trunk, and that same dead-eyed stare he'd shown me the night he handled things. People say toxic love makes you stupid. It doesn't. It makes you blind. It makes you loyal to the wrong person. It makes you defend someone even while they're destroying you. When detectives read me the full message logs between Rylan and Theo, I broke down crying in the police station. Not because Rylan betrayed me, but because Theo was a kid. A scared kid who trusted the wrong adult. Just like I had. Only I survived. Rylan didn't confess until after 3 days of interrogation. He blamed everyone but himself. He blamed Theo. He blamed pressure. He blamed stress. He never blamed the monster in his own chest. He was sentenced to life, with the possibility of parole after 30 years. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't want him looking at me again. Ending, the last message he ever sent me. 2 months after he was locked up, I got one final letter. From prison. One line. You were supposed to be mine forever. I burned it. And that was the first night I finally slept without checking my phone. Without fearing headlights slowing outside my house. Without waiting for another lie. Without mistaking obsession for love. I wasn't supposed to end up in the middle of all this. At least that's what I kept telling myself when everything went to hell. Back then, in those opening months of 2019, I thought life was finally settling into place. I'd just turned 20, had a steady job at a tire shop off Route 41, and was saving up for my own apartment. I didn't expect much from life. A little peace, a little independence. That's all. But then I met Jalen Crow. And peace? Yeah. Peace went right out the damn window. I met Jalen through a friend of a friend at a 4th of July barbecue the summer before everything fell apart. He wasn't the loudest one there. He wasn't trying to be the center of attention. But he had this calm sort of confidence, like he knew how to read people before they even spoke to him. Tall, dark hair, soft Louisiana accent, quiet smile. Everybody liked him, especially me. I remember he walked over when I was struggling to open a jar of barbecue sauce. He said, "Need a hand, sweetheart?" I laughed, more embarrassed than anything. "Yeah, go ahead before I break the damn counter." He popped it open like it was nothing and said, "You owe me a plate for that." Simple, normal, harmless. We talked for hours. About everything. His old high school days, his little sister he practically raised. The way he wanted to get certified as a crane operator because it paid real money, as he put it. My friends kept giving me that look. You know, that girl he likes you look. And I didn't mind it. For a while. Jalen felt like the first good thing to happen in a long time. But good things don't last when someone's carrying storms inside them. For the first few months we were inseparable. He'd swing by my job on lunch break, just to say hi. He'd bring me iced coffee. He'd sit in my car with me after closing, the two of us talking until the streetlights flickered on. He wasn't perfect. Sometimes he'd get irritated over small stuff, like me not texting back fast enough or my guy co-workers joking with me. But he always apologized. Always. "I'm sorry, babe, I just get in my own head, I don't want to lose you." He looked so sincere when he said it. And I believed him. When fall came, things got more serious. My mom adored him. My brothers thought he was cool. Even my boss liked him and offered to help him find work. He'd come help me feed my 2 dogs, sit on the porch talking to my mom like she'd birthed him. Everyone saw the charming side. No one saw the other side. Not yet. The first real fight happened on a Thursday night. We were driving back from the store and I told him I needed to go home early because I had work in the morning. He said, "You don't want to stay over?" "Not tonight," I replied. "I'm exhausted." He went quiet, cold quiet. Then he muttered, "You always pull away when things get good." "What?" "Jalen, I'm tired." "It's always some excuse." He tapped the steering wheel. "You don't act this way with your friends." I remember staring at him confused. "Why are you mad right now?" He didn't answer. He just drove faster. I should have known then, but I brushed it off. Everyone has bad moods, right? A few days later, he apologized again. Flowers, long texts, the whole 9 yards. And just like always, I let it go. By December, our relationship was deeper than either of us had planned. Life came at us fast. Too fast. I found out I was pregnant. When I told him, he sat on my bed staring at the wall like he couldn't breathe. Then, after a minute, he grabbed my hand and whispered, "We're gonna make it work. I swear to God, we will." I cried. He cried. For a little while, we were okay again. He got a job at a construction yard and started talking about saving for a place. I moved back in with my mom so we could save money. We planned names. We cut back on eating out. We even started a baby journal. Then the stress came, and the arguments, and the jealousy. One night he picked up my phone while I was in the shower and read through every message I had, even the old ones. When I came out, he said, "Who the hell is Logan?" "My coworker." "I don't like the way he jokes with you." "He jokes with everyone." He stared at me like he was waiting for a confession that didn't exist. That night ended with yelling, his, not mine, and him storming out of the house. My mom heard everything. She never said it out loud, but I could see it in her face. She didn't trust him anymore. But I was pregnant with his child. I didn't want to break my family before it even began. Our daughter was born in April. We named her Lennox. She was tiny, perfect, with Jalen's eyes and my nose. I'd never loved anything so fast in my life. For a while, the baby softened him. He was gentle, patient, even helpful. But stress eats people alive, especially people already drowning. He lost his construction job. Money got tight. His old insecurities came back stronger. One night, when Lennox was about 3 months old, he got angry because I didn't answer my phone fast enough while he was at his cousin's house. "You always do this shit," he snapped. "You ignore me on purpose." "I was feeding the baby," I said. "You could have called. You always got an excuse." I didn't argue. I didn't want another fight. But I saw something in his eyes that night, a kind of darkness that wasn't there in the beginning. Something angry, something unpredictable, something dangerous. The night everything went wrong was July 23rd, hot, humid, mosquitoes everywhere. I was driving him home from his cousin's place. Our friend Raina was in the back seat with Lennox's diaper bag. She'd tagged along because we'd all hung out earlier and she needed a ride. Jalen had been drinking. Not drunk, just that tipsy sweet spot where he got bold in all the wrong ways. Raina was texting someone, laughing to herself. Jalen leaned back and said, "Who you talking to like that?" She rolled her eyes. "Relax, dude. It's my boyfriend. Chill." "You lying. That ain't your man." "WTF?" Raina looked at me, confused. "What's his problem?" I shrugged, but my stomach twisted. I knew exactly what was happening. He was in one of his moods. He stared at me instead. "And you? Who you been texting today?" "Jalen, don't start." "No, tell me." "Stop. Lennox is asleep." He leaned in closer, jaw tight. "Why you get so defensive, huh?" Then out of nowhere he slapped my arm. Not hard enough to leave a mark, just hard enough to warn me. "Don't push me." Raina yelled, "Hey! Don't put your hands on her!" He ignored her completely. By the time we pulled up to my mom's house, things were tense enough to choke on. I got out fast. Raina followed. The front porch light flickered on. My mom opened the door. She saw my face. She saw his. She knew. What happened? She asked. Nothing, I said quickly. Bullshit, Raina said. Jalen walked up behind me. Give me your phone. No. Give me your phone. You're not taking my phone, I said, stepping back. He reached for it, but my mom blocked him. You need to go, she told him. Right now. He stared at her, then at me. You gonna let her talk to me like that? I whispered. Just go home. We'll talk tomorrow. He clenched his jaw, muttered something under his breath, and walked out the front door. That was the last time I saw him alive. I went to my room. My mom refused to let me go after him. Let him cool off, she said. I sat on my bed crying, feeling stupid and tired and angry. At 10:39 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a call from his number. I answered. Hello? No sound, just shuffling. Jalen, are you there? Nothing. Then the call cut. 2 minutes later, my mom got a call from an unknown number. She answered and immediately froze. What did you say? She asked, voice shaking. I could hear a faint voice through the speaker, someone yelling. Then the call ended. Before we could even understand what was happening, bright red and blue lights started flashing through the living room window. A deputy banged on the door. You the family? He asked. My mom said yes. He swallowed hard. There's been an incident. My stomach dropped. We followed him outside. Jalen was lying near the big oak tree beside the ditch across the road, not moving. A belt was around his neck. My knees buckled. Raina screamed. My mom grabbed my arm so hard it bruised. What happened? I cried. The deputy said, It looks like self-harm. That was the moment something inside me snapped. No, I whispered. No, he wouldn't do that. The deputy didn't answer, because even he didn't sound convinced. The whole night turned into a blur of sirens, neighbors gathering, police taking statements, paramedics covering the body. I couldn't stop shaking. One thing kept echoing through my head. He had just walked out 6 minutes ago. 6 minutes. 6 minutes wasn't enough time for him to walk down the yard, break down emotionally, take off his belt, and... No, it didn't make sense. Raina kept saying it over and over. He was mad, sure, but suicide? Nah, that man loved that baby. My mom agreed. I don't buy this for a damn second. But the sheriff's office insisted it wasn't homicide. They said there were no signs of struggle. They said the timeline was clear. They said the situation was unfortunate, but straightforward. Except it wasn't. Our neighbor, Mr. Fetterman, told police he heard yelling, 3 voices, before everything got quiet. He said he heard something like a truck revving, loud and violent, then stopping suddenly. Police wrote it down, but they never followed up. Another neighbor said she saw a tall man in dark clothes, walking toward the ditch minutes before the deputies arrived. They wrote that down too. But again, no follow-up. And the autopsy? Bruising around the neck inconsistent with suicide. Grass wedged under his nails. Dirt scraped across the back of his shirt. When the coroner said the manner of death was undetermined, I broke down crying in that cold hallway outside his office. Because undetermined meant one thing. Something wasn't right. A month later, Raina came over with information that made my blood run cold. She'd gotten a copy of the call logs from that night. My mom's unknown call. It came from a prepaid phone purchased the same day. My missed call from Jalen's number, dialed while his phone was pinging near the tree, before we even knew anything had happened. And the most chilling part, a voicemail was left on my mom's phone minutes before deputies arrived. We didn't know, because the phone was old and sometimes didn't show notifications. When she played it, you could hear heavy breathing, movement, a muffled voice saying, "Hold him. Just hold, damn it." Then a scuffle. Then silence. We gave it to police. They said it was inconclusive. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers, but answers weren't coming. 3 months after the funeral, I finally accepted something. Toxic love doesn't always end with fists. Sometimes it ends with secrets, with silence, with the truth buried under dirt and paperwork and fear. I still don't know exactly what happened that night. But I know what didn't happen. Jalen didn't take his own life. He didn't give up on Lennox. He didn't walk out there and decide he was done. Someone else made that decision for him. And I live with that truth every single day. Some nights, when the house is quiet and Lennox is asleep on my chest, I replay his voice in my head saying, "We're gonna make it work." Maybe we would've. Maybe we wouldn't have. Maybe we were too broken to fix. But nobody deserved the ending he got. Not even him. It's been 5 years now. Lennox has his smile. Sometimes when she asks about her daddy, I tell her stories about the good parts, the summer nights at the river, the way he could make anyone laugh, the way he held her like she was made of gold. I don't tell her about the yelling, or the jealousy, or the night everything changed. One day, maybe. But not now. There's a small memorial by the oak tree where he died. Just a cross with his initials carved into it. I go there sometimes, not to mourn what we lost, but to remind myself of what I survived, and what she deserved to grow up free from. Love can be soft, love can be warm, but toxic love? Toxic love devours everything it touches, including the truth.